Go.
Oh, what the? Are you kidding me? Play video. Hold on. We're still good. We're still good.
Dun dun dun. All right. Well, hello and welcome to Pompously Political Podcast. It's a little bit pompous, if you know what we're saying. We were trying something new, and that just failed miserably. So
What?
we're gonna move on without it.
Damn it! Because I got it all up now.
Oh, you want to try it? You want to try it? We'll do it.
Yeah. Do it. Let's do it. Let me. Where'd it go? Okay, here we go. Ready?
We're ready.
Oh, I got a fucking screen share. Hold on. Forgot to hit the button. Okay. And then move that out of the way. Bam! Can you see it?
Nope.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Nope.
I just screen
Got
shared it, man.
We got a black screen.
You don't see that at all?
Nope.
Oh my god.
Well, that's a shame. Anyways, as always, I am your co-host, Scott, joined by technically challenged co-host.
I am technically challenged co-host Jimmy tonight. I failed you. I failed you, Nate.
See, this is why you should have called me Saturday, so we could have gotten this sorted out. It's all good,
I
though.
know.
We do have lives outside of the podcast. So, speaking of lives outside of the podcast, I will caveat tonight's message by saying, or tonight's broadcast before we even start, by saying that I don't have any of this looked up in front of me. This is all going to be off memory. I don't have any stats back, and so if my stats are wrong, I apologize. We can do a correction later, but we're going to go off the best of my memory for some of these stories that we're going to go through. But it has been a good week for news. There's been a lot of stuff going on. Nothing too terrible. No ISIS news, so I guess that's a blessing in disguise.
Oh, totally.
But it's hard to tell where to even start. So I'm going to let you pick, Jimmy, because I think I picked last week.
Okay, cool. You know what? I'm going to go for something that has been on my mind since it happened. Let's go ahead and talk about Ahmed and the clock, because that is a whole bag of issue that I kind of understand, but at the same time, I'm not 100% on the issue. And I know that you've been following it a little bit more, particularly from the Richard Dawkins angle. But so you're wondering what this Ahmed and the Clock thing is. No, it's not a children's book. It is an
That's what
actual.
I was thinking. It sounded like a children's story. Ahmed and his clock.
Well, you would wish, but in reality, what had happened was this boy named Ahmed, who's a Muslim, who lives in Texas. I think they say Irvine,
Yes.
Texas. I want to say. So he's in Irvine, Texas. For a science project, he builds a clock, which, if you had the picture of it, I would describe it as it was in a metal briefcase. It had big dials on it, digital dials. Something that would look like a bomb, to be honest. When I saw the picture, I was like, that kind of looks like a bomb. So, of course, the school was quick to, or not quick, let me rephrase that. They incarcerated him. That's the word I'm looking for. They weren't quick about it, because I've heard some conflicting reports, but one of the reports I heard was he made it all the way till 6th period before he got arrested. Was one of them, and it wasn't like they called in a bomb squad or anything. They just took him into the principal's office and then had him arrested for this clock.
Right.
So there's some obvious issues with that, but then you said there's also this Richard Dawkins angle?
There is. So there's obviously, before we get to Dawkins, to kind of continue what you're saying, there's a couple controversies, I guess, going on. The first being that, this Muslim boy who looks very Arab, you couldn't deny it, brings in this device that has wires and all that stuff coming out of it. Somebody mistakes it for a bomb, supposedly mistakes it for a bomb, thinks that he's brought a bomb to school, and then has him arrested. But then you have the other side of it that, had they actually thought it was a bomb, nobody was evacuated, no bomb squad was called in. There was a bit of a delay in his arrest, and the claim is that it's a clock that his engineering professor asked him to build as part of a special assignment or whatever. But his engineering professors were also reportedly the one who kind of reported him as having this device. So, again, some weirdness going on there. But then Richard Dawkins took some heat because he called this whole thing into question about whether or not this was actually discrimination against a Islamic-looking child, or if this was a publicity stunt on the angle of the on Ahmed's angle. And more recently is coming to light his father, who claims that he is a sheikh from Sudan, I believe it is. And then he claims that he has hundreds of people following his teachings or whatever, even though people in these supposed areas where he has followers have been reported as saying that they have no idea who this guy is. So what Richard Dawkins did, again, was highlight that maybe this is a publicity stunt. And the Twitterverse exploded. How dare you insinuate that this victimized child was participating in a publicity stunt? How dare you cover up for white America's indignant, whatever the hell you want to call it, all over Richard Dawkins' face. Just, word vomit, basically. Well, then come to find out, this isn't a clock that he built from scratch, like it was reported to be. He literally, like, if you take one of those big alarm clocks and you take the top off, and then you've got the little motherboard in there with the display, and he put that in a lockable pencil box.
Oh, it was in a pencil box. I thought it was like a briefcase.
No, it's a vault locking pencil box.
Okay.
So it looks like a briefcase, but it's just a pencil box. And that's all he did. That's it. That's all that this was. He didn't even build it himself. He just took the inside and threw it in something else and said, I'm a science whiz. I'm invited to the White House now, and MIT is going to send me a scholarship, which is kind of what happened. So I guess there's two sides to this. I mean, did we rush to judgment over a Islamic-looking child, or did he really do this as a publicity stunt, and is he full of crap? Or even at that point, it really wouldn't be his fault, because I would say that he's being pushed by his father, Instruction, who is very religious from some of the stuff that I'm reading about him. It's really interesting. It's really hard to make a definitive, I guess, choice on which way I swing on this one.
Well, the thing that struck me was, okay, so you have this device that supposedly looks like a bomb, which I saw the picture of it, and yeah, if I saw that, it looks like something that was in a Keanu Reeves movie. Like, you look at it and you're like, oh shit, I better not slow this bus down below 66 miles per hour or whatever the movie was.
I thought it was 55.
Maybe it might have been. I haven't seen that movie for ages, man. So, but anyways, it looked like that sort of thing. It looked like a movie prop bomb sort of thing. If that was the case, if that's what they thought it was, why did he get all the way to 6th period before somebody said anything? Not only that, but why wasn't bomb squads called? Why wasn't the school evacuated? These are questions that I'm like, are you serious? Like, okay, if you would have thought it was a bomb, right? That's what you should have done, or at least, and I don't know the full. Again, I don't know the full story. So if anybody out there is a little bit more educated in this, if they did in fact call the bomb squad, but everything I've seen that they didn't call the bomb squad, they just took him into the principal's office and arrested him for it. That right there leads me to believe that the kid was humiliated over this, basically because he was, a brown kid that looks like a terrorist made a bomb. But then on the other side, yeah, there are some discrepancies with this story as far as him building the device. I don't know if you saw Bill Maher. If you saw Bill Maher on this, you were talking a little bit about it.
No, I didn't see that one.
One of the people on the panel had actually spoken. He interviewed Ahmed about it, and it seemed like he was being coached on his answers by his sister.
It was Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban reported that he had a conversation with him on the phone,
right,
and that he could hear his sister in the background kind of coaching him on the answers.
Correct. Yeah, that's who it was. He was on the panel, and so he was. That's one of those things that maybe raises a flag, but at the same time, he's a kid, and he's
Yeah, if
talking.
you're a kid talking to a billionaire, I mean,
Right. Yeah, you're talking to the public in some sort of way. Yeah, you could probably clam up a little bit, and so maybe his sister was helping him. I don't know what to think, man. I don't know. Should he have been arrested for the bomb? That's the thing. It looks kind of like a bomb. I could have made that assumption, but again, it would have been immediately when I saw it, and the place would have been evacuated, and then afterwards I would have given the kid an apology. I would have been like, look, man, you can never be too sure these days.
yeah, with everything that's going on, I mean, you can't really fault the security guard or the security officer, police officer, whoever it was that actually did the arresting, for looking at that and going, "Yep, we're putting cuffs on you." Because
Right.
What's he gonna say at that point? No, 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 it's a clock. Let me turn it on and see. No, no, you ain't turning that on, buddy. We ain't going down that road.
He has like a little device in his hand strapped to a vest
See,
contraption he made.
that would have got him shot. Shot
He's
on
like,
the spot.
no, this is just how I power the clock. Just, I don't know. But so yeah, so it's an unfortunate misunderstanding, and I think people were blowing it way out of proportion. The kid got like a shit ton of stuff. Again, the MIT thing, he's gonna meet the president. He got a shit ton of stuff from like HP, like the computer company, or maybe it was Microsoft. Microsoft sent him a bunch like tablets and computers and stuff.
Yeah, I saw the picture with all the stuff. Like,
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah, so it's
If that's what it took to get all the free shit that I wanted as a kid, I wish
Right.
I'd have thought of that.
I know, right? But we're white, man, so we could never get away with something
That's
like
true.
that. Yeah,
That's true.
nobody's gonna profile us. They would have looked at us, Scott, and said, "That's a fucking clock. That's not a bomb." You know what I mean? Like that's what would happen.
You're not smart enough for that. You're not fooling anybody.
Yeah. Well, I know what you did. You took the parts of a clock, Scott, and you put it in the pencil case. Come on, Scott. That's what would happen. But of
Hey,
course,
you
a
just
little-
said the damn thing had to work. You didn't say how it had to work.
I know, right? But the fact that he had at least the ingenuity to take it apart and do what he did with it. I mean, that's still. Granted, he didn't build the clock. It's not like he's not like Tony Stark or anything. He's just a little kid that was like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
Boom. So I don't know. I don't know what to say. Ahmed, build more like him.
So, ladies and gentlemen, since this is a divided issue, please let us know what you think. Send us a message. Give us your opinion on it. Do you think Ahmed was rightfully detained? Is this a publicity stunt, or is he the victim of racial or religious profiling at this point? But
right, for sure.
moving on, there is a huge story in the news this week, and this is the one that I was thinking of when I made the comments earlier, but I don't have the exact statistics in front of me. I'm going off the top of my head. But there is a huge VW recall for all of its cars that had diesel, like the hybrid diesel engines in it. Have you heard about this?
No, I haven't actually.
So
I saw the headline, but I didn't get to read the whole article.
the what it breaks down to is they're recalling 500,000 vehicles. That is a fuck ton of cars when you take their total sales into that's a significant portion of their business. And it's all the cars that are this hybrid diesel that they had pushed out that said it was meeting all the regulations and everything. What they found is that VW invented a system that can detect when the emission system is being checked. And when it detects that, and it turns on all of its emission systems so that it actually does produce clean emissions in compliance with federal regulations. When it's not being checked, it turns all those systems off. So instead of being in compliance, its emissions skyrocket to 40 to 45 times the allowable limit.
That's out of control.
That is absurd. That is almost on par with Chevy's. We're killing people, but we're just going to cover it up and keep killing people because it's cheaper. Their big fiasco they had last year. Like the level of corruption and greed that goes behind a decision like this is absurd.
Yeah, that's out of control. I for a company like Volkswagen, it's supposed to be like environmentally friendly. Like Volkswagen's one of those companies again that a lot of hipsters drive, a lot of a lot of environmentally friendly people.
Well, there's one of my friends from the military. I don't know if you remember. I won't say her name on here, but
Okay.
she drove Volkswagens exclusively, specifically the models that the Jettas and stuff that are being targeted with this recall. And she's had 4 or 5 of them, but she put a post up saying that her total investment at this point with all the cars over the years is about $38,000 given to the company, and that basically they won't get another dime out of her. Like, she was a long-time loyal customer, but that was enough for her to just immediately drop them and walk away.
Wow, and that's that's the type of thing that will hurt a business, is because chances are if you have one person like that, there are several people that are like-minded because of something like this, and you're gonna 38,000 times however many people are just like that. That's a lot. That's a lot to lose, and it's gonna take a lot to get Volkswagen back into people's trust for something that.
Especially when you violate an issue that's as sensitive right now as environmental control, environmental protection. I mean, they really couldn't have picked a worse time to do this.
Right.
But it's been ongoing since 2008. So.
Yeah. Your car may as well have, or might as well have been giving out free abortions to old people driving or something, and you would have just a bunch of outrage, I guess.
That's so wrong. But anyway, moving on. Speaking of other monumental, I guess, events, Apple iOS has been breached. Now, in the history of iOS and the Apple Store and everything, the apps that are put on there have only been 2 or 3 breaches, and we're talking like programs or applications that you would download through the store that turn out to be malicious, that attack you and steal your information. There's only been a handful of programs in its history. But what they found this time, or what they released this week, was that there was a program that was being used to build these programs. So to build these applications that were going through a very rigorous testing process and then being pushed out to the Apple Store, that program was malicious. So upwards of 500 programs were found to have this code in it, and were stealing people's information, which is the biggest breach in Apple history.
That's out of control. Did it have a list of the apps
I haven't
that were
seen
affected?
an actual list. I do know that I don't know if it was in conjunction with this or if it was just a part, or it just happened to happen at the same time. But Microsoft had some serious issues with Skype as well that had to be shut down for 24 hours right around all the time that this was going on. And there's a Chinese messaging app that it's like 500 million people in China that use this massive app over there. I've never heard of it because it's not over here, but it had this code in there, so all of those people were affected. So it's pretty substantial.
And were able to trace the origins of the malicious code, or not yet? It's not that far in the investigation process, I would imagine.
I haven't read that far into it, honestly.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I saw something about Apple Store hacked. Again, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I have been having like exam after exam because I'm in school, because I'm a crazy person. So I see headlines while I'm doing schoolwork, and I'm like, "That's good. Now let's cram." So I've missed this in the last 2 articles.
I know the feeling with this insurance exam that I'm studying to pass for, which I have the test in 2 days. I passed the pre-test today that was geared towards my weaker areas based on prior performance. So I passed that, so I should be good.
Woohoo!
Anyway, so moving on into, I guess, realms that are news that's more in our realm as a political podcast. Scott Walker joining good old Rick Perry on that road out of the race for the Republican presidential nominee. Sayonara.
Right. We were talking about the Rick Perry last week, about him dropping out, and how that now that we have a person out, we're going to see more candidates dropping out. weeding out the process. Yeah, he's number 2 in there, Scott Walker. The other thing is what was Scott Walker polling at? He was one of those ones that was on like single digits.
I can pull that up real quick. I will take, I guess, one quick jab at him. That whenever he announced that he was running, you know what he said?
When he announced he was running?
Yep.
Surprise! I don't know.
Motherfucker. No, he said God told him it was time for him to run. So
just like Mike Huckabee?
Yeah, so was God wrong?
Or it's either that or God's like a really vindictive, like he's he's kind of like a
the kid on the
puppet
ant hill with the magnifying glass.
Yeah, or
Time
the kid
to run, Mr. Walker.
or the kid in the cafeteria room that's trying to instigate a fight. So he's like, "Hey man, Scott Walker, Mike Huckabee called your mom a bitch." That's what I imagine him like. And then so they're all saying God told him to run for president.
He was pulling at 1.8%.
Right, which we were just going over the polling. Like I have some current numbers right now, which we'll get to those when we get to the discussion about the GOP debate. But yeah, he's not even on here anymore because he's dropped off. But yeah, he's polling single digits, and at this point in the game, you might as well drop out. Which a lot of these people, they're going to
start doing. Now, as much as I hate to say this, there is actually one, possibly 2 candidates that I would like to see stay. And the reason for that is because of the CNN debate that happened. Did you get to check that out in depth?
I sure did. I regurgitated my dinner on several occasions because it was kind of shocking to hear some of the craziness that was being said. But yeah, I watched that thing. So, yeah, man. Trump was kind of Trump. He was kind of a crazy person, and the surprising person that popped out of there that people were like, "Oh, she such poise," was Carly Fiorina.
Which we'll get to her in a minute, but she's as crazy as the rest of them. But what really struck out to me was John Kasich, or whatever. How do you say his name? Kasich? Yeah, John Kasich. Which I think you might have been the one that said it, that the single voice of reason in that entire room was John Kasich. And the comments that he made, even towards the debate. Now, I didn't get to watch all of the second debate. I watched all of the first debate and about 30 minutes in the second debate. But even at that, 30 minutes into the second debate, when he was the one that stood up and said, "Look, we're sitting here attacking each other over these issues. Like, this is what the American people are tired of. Like, we can't focus on issues for 5 minutes without taking these side roads and detours into attacking each other. This is accomplishing nothing." Which really kind of echoes, I guess, the left's arguments about the Republican Party and their ineffectiveness. Because really what the right is showing is this is why they're ineffective. They're too busy attacking each other to focus on actually making a change. So he stuck out. And then there was also, and I'm probably going to eat these words, Chris Christie seemed...
Really?
Yeah, I was happy with some of the stuff that he said. Last time it seemed like he was just there to be like, "Ooh, look at how big it is." But he actually had some solid answers this time. Now, circling all this back around before we get to Fiorina, Donald Trump has wore out his welcome. It's done.
So you noticed.
Everybody there was tired of him. And they knew what he was going to do. And the real politicians started showing themselves because they were able to kind of trap him into saying stupid things. Like Jeb Bush. Jeb Bush got Trump to make a child out of himself in front of the 22 million people that tuned into that, which is hilarious. But some of his comments, that's literally what it was childish. He would not give straight answers on what his policies were going to be. Oh, well, that's what you say. That's what you say. That's what you say. What he was doing to Bush.
Here's the thing. Before I address Trump, one thing that I want to address about this CNN debate was the moderators were garbage to start off with. They were terrible. They were more like at one point, and again we'll talk about Carly Fiorina in a second here as well. But at one point they asked Carly Fiorina about the Trump comments that he said about her face. Like, Trump said some stuff about your face. You care to respond to that? Like they were Mean Girl instigating the situation. Like they were hoping for some crazy shit to happen to make it more lively debate. When in reality,
which is probably why they didn't cut them off at the time limits
Right.
like they should have, and they let them just sit
Right.
there and bicker.
oh yeah, yeah, it was like the real world meets the GOP because there was no moderation whatsoever, and it was like, hey man, what do you think about this? And on top of that, the first question right out the gate went to Trump, and what did he do? He immediately started ad hominem attack on Rand Paul. Immediately, that was like his thing was, I'm going to sidestep the question by then insulting one of the other people on the panel here. You know what I mean? So it was like,
And it wasn't even related. He asked the question, and Trump's response was, before I get to that, why is Rand Paul even allowed here? He's
Yeah.
not polling high enough. He shouldn't be on this stage.
right, yeah, and you're just like, oh, come on. And so that kind of set the tone where it was everybody against Trump because Trump is an idiot and Trump will say stupid things. Like the whole thing about legalizing casinos in Florida between that testy little spat between him and Jeb Bush, and he was like, "Believe me, if I wanted casinos in Florida, I would have got it." Like, really, you would have got it?
And yeah, and that was one of the more childish portions. And even Bush got pulled into it for a minute, where he's like, "No, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't. Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah.
Not happening." But since then, now, I guess another caveat: the more that I use this site for presidential poll numbers, the less I believe it to be accurate. But it's what I've been quoting the whole time. We've been following this, so I'm going to keep quoting this one. Since that has broadcast, Trump has lost almost a full 2 points. So he's gone from 30.5 to 28.5.
Okay. Now, which side are you pulling it up on? Because I have
Real
numbers as
Clear
well.
Politics.
Okay. Yeah. See, the numbers I have, I don't know if you have a plus or minus on that as far as the margin of error, but the one I have here, Trump was at 32%, and that was as of September 4th through the 8th, and then September 17th to the 19th, he's now down to 24%. So it's about
This one is basically a combined average of the major polls: ABC, Monmouth, CBS, CNN, and then just
Right.
runs an average of those. So ABC has Trump polling at 33, but like CNN has him at 24.
right. Yeah. CNN. This is a CNN poll and another organization as well that's affiliated with this poll. So
ORC?
yes, yeah, ORC. Yeah.
That one's
Um,
on there. But that one's
right.
averaged in. Those actually show, on average, lower numbers for everybody across the board, except for
Right.
Christie. Everybody has Christie at a 1, and CNN has him at a 3.
Right.
But yeah, Trump's he had nothing to say.
Right.
There was nothing policy-wise, or, man, he'd make a good president-wise, that you walk away from that with. So it's like,
Oh yeah.
he literally walked into it with nothing to say, and it was more like, well, let's create some drama, because that'll keep people talking about me.
Right. I told you that was that was what's going to happen. Once they started talking about actual policy, how is he going to make this country great again? That is where he failed. And one of the the discussion that one of the moderators raised a question about Putin, and he was like basically like, oh yeah, Putin, I think Putin and I would get along. You know, like you know what, I'll talk to him. We'll have a good time, sort of thing. And you're like, really? That's your realistic policy?
And
you're
what-
just gonna talk?
And what struck me in his comment in that was that he refused, absolutely would not say anything negative in the least about Putin or any of the actions that he has taken.
Right. Which is probably for two reasons. One reason is there may come a time that he may have to do business in Russia. The other thing is because he does have holdings worldwide, Trump's brand or whatever. But then the other thing is I don't think he actually fully was aware of all the stuff that's going on. I don't think he is as well read as he thought he was. You know.
Well, I'm sure that's believable. So I guess some other notions that were coming out of the debate before we get into Fiorina and kind of the craziness going on behind the scenes with her and Ted Cruz. Yeah, that's an in-depth topic on its own. The
modern politics, though.
It's very true. Bill Maher kind of highlighted that a central theme among all candidates in the debate was that we need to make America great again, kind of echoing Trump. We need to restore America to what it was before the Muslim traitor took over the White House and all this other crap. But then, I don't know if you saw the segment with Bill Maher, then he actually broke down statistics.
Oh, yeah, I totally saw that.
Almost every sector, unemployment, job growth, the economy, every measurable aspect, we're doing better. And we're not only doing better, we're doing a lot better. Gas prices, all of it, I mean, you name it. So why would we want to go back to that? I mean, I'm sure there are some things that we could do to make America great again, as Trump said. There are some areas where we are deficient, but in the areas that really affect your life on a day-to-day basis, we're doing pretty good right now. I mean, hell, gas here is under $2 a gallon right now. I filled up yesterday at $1.97. Well, I haven't done that since I was just joined the Army.
Yeah, the other thing is George Pataki, who was on the panel, who's also a presidential candidate. He's obviously not polling very high because nobody knows about him. Anyways, his thing was, it's how the American people feels about the American situation, how they feel the economy is going, and then I got Trump on the brain. Bill Maher was quick to point out, no, it's about facts. Okay, you can feel whatever you want at the end of the day, but when it boils down to facts, you can't argue with those. And which I thought was beautifully said. And that's the difference between the parties as far as the GOP is concerned and as far as the Democrats are concerned. The Democrats have a certain level of non-factual stuff on their own. Let's not paint them in a rose-colored light here either. But at the same time, you have the GOP. It's Obama feels like a traitor. Obama feels like a Kenyan Muslim, whatever that's supposed to
it's
be.
Like, and there's a comic that said this whenever, or a comedian that said this whenever Obama first got in office. Everybody wants to say it, but they can't. And what this boils down to is he's black.
Right.
That's really all it is. He's black. You can't say that because that's political suicide. So you got to find other ways that, he feels like a terrorist. He feels like he's wrong for America, and come up with all this other BS to cover up the fact that you just don't like the fact there's a black man in office.
Well, then, yeah, and it kind of makes you wonder. The economy feels like it's not recovered and blah 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 blah. Okay. That may be how you feel as an individual, but can't you see the improvement around? I can certainly see the improvement around. Like, businesses within during the recession, there would be people that would open up businesses in my neighborhood, and then the business would be gone within like a month, 2 months, because they couldn't stay above water because there's not enough money floating around in the economy for them to open and stay afloat. Now you see businesses staying around a little more. You see that sort of thing, and lots of jobs. I can go to the unemployment office here and get a job in like 3 days if I wanted to, because there's so many jobs available right now. If the economy is that bad right now, nobody would want to hire people because they can't afford to hire them. They can't afford the labor. The only thing that George Pataki said that resonated a little bit in that discussion with him and Bill Maher was he did say about the people that are working less than 30 hours. Why is that? It's because they don't want to pay out the health care for full-time employees. That's the problem. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. The Republicans are going to, Obamacare is going to destroy the economy, blah, 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 and so they do so by cutting everybody's hours in order to circumvent the law.
But even at that, I mean, to go back to your point about the job situation right now, me personally, I have been kind of feeling around to see if there's anything out for me. So I applied to a handful of jobs. None of those called me back. But in applying, you're going through these websites that are out there now. I left my application or my resume just kind of sitting on 4 or 5 websites, and I get a call or two a week. Not trying, not contacting these people, not knowing who these people are. They're calling me to talk to me about picking me up for a job. And it's if the economy was really that bad and they were really struggling that hard to get good candidates and to, we can be selective, we can go through this huge pile of unemployed people, they wouldn't be calling me out of the blue when I've made zero attempt to contact them at all. One of them I actually ignored because they were emailing me and I had no idea who they were until they finally got up one day and started calling me. It's like, the situation is not as bad as Republicans would like to make it out to be.
Right.
Because, well, that's also half of the strategy. Because if you can make it out to be that America is just so terrible and so horrible right now, then it gets the American people kind of, not as a whole, but a big enough majority to say, well, man, it's all these Democrats running the show. Democrats have got to be the problem. We have to vote Republican. Screw looking at policy. Screw looking at numbers. Screw looking at what they're actually going to do. They've convinced us that America's going down the shitter, even when it's not. So they must be the right option. That's kind of the strategy that's going on, and it's complete garbage.
It's failing. It's failing in all aspect of it. The other thing about it is, okay, let's look at the people that are actually struggling to get a job. Okay. I subscribe to a Facebook group that's people looking for jobs within my area. Okay. I did that because I was working for Kmart doing human resources, and I would occasionally go on there to look for people to hire. Now, the caliber of people that were looking for jobs. Okay, I would come to them and say, okay, I can give you a job. It's minimum wage. Most likely you'll get around full-time hours, but we can't guarantee full-time status because they don't want to pay the health care. So we'd be like, okay, you're going to get about 23 to 30 hours a week. It's going to be minimum wage to start off, but then you have room for raises and so forth. And people would turn it down. People would say, no, I don't want it. When just a couple of days ago, they were on there talking about how they were having trouble feeding their child and they needed a job immediately. But then here's this job that I could have hired. I'm the human resources person, or I was the human resources person at the time. I could have hired you on the spot. You would have had the job immediately, right? But you'd still turn it down, all because it's minimum wage. Okay.
Well, some money is better than no money.
Right, and then on top of that, you can't help but when it's on Facebook, you kind of click on their profile, and then you see the person, you see their qualifications. A lot of these people don't have the qualifications to expand beyond that minimum wage bubble that they're in right now. Okay, so is this indicative of the economy or a lack of education and a lack of trade capability? People are just unmarketable. These people are the ones that are not able to get jobs. When you have people like Scott and I don't know about you, man, but of course we have a military background, but aside from that, I'm going to school. I'm not fully credentialed in that aspect. So when it comes to skills beyond the realm of human resources, there's not that much there.
You also have to keep in mind that when you have a job, and we are getting way sidetracked on this, but we can go into it.
I love it, Scott. I love the little journeys we go on. This is beautiful.
To really expand yourself in a market, if you really want to break it down, you don't need a college degree. You don't need experience. You don't need all that stuff. Anybody can succeed in an area. What works for me is that when I have an opportunity, when I have a job that I'm applying myself to, as I've done in all my jobs since I've got out of the military, one of those even being a minimum wage job with a little bit of commission. I think on like 2 paychecks I made an actual commission. The rest of the time I was negative on it. But what I did was I set myself above everybody else because I busted my ass and I tried. And when I was put in those situations, I approached it like an adult, like a thinking, logical human being, and I figured out a way to make it work. And based on that, based on my experience doing that, when I put out my resume, I have a track record of not only success but resounding success in every situation I have ever been put in. It's not because I go to work and I spend 5 of my 8 hours gossiping about everybody that's there. I spend 4 hours finding excuses not to work and run around jacking my dick somewhere. I'm there to work. I'm actually trying, and I'm setting.
I hope you're not doing that at work.
I'm setting myself apart, and now I'm starting to see the rewards from that, because I have that record, I have the qualifications, I have a college degree now, and I have people calling me to come work for them just out of the blue.
Right. And
it's a mentality thing.
Yeah. And I can't tell you how many times I heard people that, oh, I'm working, just especially at Kmart, oh, I'm working minimum wage, therefore you're going to get minimum effort. I'm like, no, dude, this is a stepping stone. That's what this is. I hope you don't plan on making Kmart a career. I hope you have, like, other aspirations out there, like go to school or join the military or whatever that's beyond the walls of Kmart. That's the thing. I hope that's the case. So when you are at this job that is minimum wage and you're telling me, oh, minimum wage equals minimum effort because, oh, I'm not getting paid enough to do what I'm doing, you're basically telling me that you have no motivation whatsoever. You're not going to stand out above your peers in that sort of situation. You're not going to get those we give raises out. Like, for a while, I had people working in the Little Caesars that were making more money than me, and that was because they tried really, really hard. I got to the point where I was like, oh, I'm done. But even then, even when I left Kmart, I had a job within like 3 days. Like, that's how quick it was. That's how quick the turnaround is. And so you can find these jobs. And now I make I don't make great money, but I make more than minimum wage. And, and I work part-time because I'm going to school full-time. So you can find that sort of job out there. There's a business out here that I don't know if you've heard of Bully Dog. Bully Dog is like they do stuff with automotive stuff. Anyways, they're paying like $28 an hour. My buddy is a milkman and makes like he makes $18, like around $18 an hour, if I'm not mistaken. There's these jobs out there, and you don't have to have like a college degree to be a milkman and make $18 an hour. You know what I mean? Granted, that's not like you're not living the freaking 1% life.
Well, that's what we had starting out when I started working with the company I'm with now. The starting pay was between like 15 and like 22, depending on experience and everything. There was no requirement for college background. You know what you had to do to get that job? You had to be able to hold a confidential security clearance, which basically means you don't have a bunch of delinquent debt and you've never had a felony conviction. That's all it is. And that you could type at least 35 words per minute. I could finger like this at 35 words per minute. Yeah. It's not hard. And we were paying $15 to $22 an hour starting on that. I mean, that's the jobs are out there, but it's a lot. And another problem with our society right now, it's a lot easier to sit there and complain about how there's no jobs out there like that than to actually go out there and find a job.
Yeah. Because to you, it feels like the economy is not recovered. It feels like there's no jobs available. Okay, when Scott and I are living proof that there are jobs available, and the economy is. That was what initially started this tangent. Again, was the fact that, like, okay, you may feel this way, but how can you not see around you? How can you not have that situational awareness to be able to tell the environment of which you are living in is different? I
now,
can certainly.
To caveat that, just to, I guess, throw this out, in the last 4 months, I have interviewed for nearly 30 positions. I have been picked up for one of those. So it's not like people are just going to call you out of the blue and say, oh, well, you are a perfect fit, come hire me. They're calling up to see if I am the fit based on qualifications, that I have enough qualifications and success to get me in the door. Now, actually getting picked up, I had one offer which I accepted, and I'm actually switching over to in a couple weeks. But it's not like you're just going to get that. Well, one call and you're good. There's a chance of that happening, but it's very slim.
You have to try
yourself.
You have to try. Your job until you have a job is to look for one. That's what I was always told. That's how I was raised to believe is, okay, until you have a job, go put in like 40 billion applications. You may not like working at Burger King. You may not like working in McDonald's. You may not like working in food in general. The thing about it is a job is a job. And as you've probably heard in other podcasts, I am all for raising the minimum wage to a certain extent. Scott is somewhere in that aspect. There's certain areas that we're like, okay, maybe we shouldn't raise there. But the thing about it is, it doesn't mean it's still a job, man. It's still something to have there. And that's what people like George Pataki in that discussion were missing, is the hard hold facts about it versus how you feel things are. I don't know about you, Scott, but I would rather have facts than feelings.
If you can't
when it comes
separate your feelings from a job like that, from a job like president, that requires you to make decisions based on facts and not feelings, you are not qualified to be president.
Right. So, yeah, that's why George Pataki is not even in the polls that I am able to pull up.
I have him at non-existent either. Holy crap.
Yeah, he's not there. He's not there. And he's a Republican candidate. Kasich, who I'm sure, raise your hand if you know who John Kasich is. Not a lot of people are going to raise their hand to that. Okay? And he's polling at 2%.
Yeah.
Chris Christie, everybody knows who Chris Krispy Kreme is. And he's polling at 2-3%.
Oh, I'd kill for some Krispy Kreme right now.
Oh, I appeal to your hungry sensibilities.
They've all closed down here. Like, they can't keep them in business. There's only one, and it's like an hour away. It's like, I love donuts. I love me some Krispy Kreme. I don't love me no hour and away Krispy Kreme, though.
You know whose fault that is?
Obama's.
Thanks,
right,
Obama.
So, moving on to the last interesting topic out of this.
Okay.
I guess we'll hit, before we go into the last one, because it's still tied around the debate, so we'll come back to the debate. The Senate blocked the anti-abortion bill that was drawing all this controversy. Basically, Republicans wanted to defund Planned Parenthood.
Right.
Defund abortions and things like that completely because, God told them to, whatever.
Well, if I may, because it was because of the whole thing came from those videos that came out that were manufactured videos. They weren't even real videos. They were faked. Okay. You did have a lady talking about the selling the fetuses or whatever, the unused baby residue, I guess. It's making me sound like a cold-hearted bastard. But anyways, that part was real. But then the part where they were like showing body parts and stuff like that was fake. That was complete false. And Carly Fiorina, again, was pushing that issue. So again, they were trying to defund Planned Parenthood, which only a small portion of their services is abortions and abortion-related care. Yeah, 3%. That's what it is, Scott. 3%. I don't have the numbers on me, but okay, so 3%. I'll go with that. If our percentages are off, we'll look it up later. But so, anyways, the rest is for feminine health services, female health services, OBGYN, stuff like that. Particularly for low-income women. So it's a very important program, but because of these videos that are manufactured, they decided they wanted to defund Planned Parenthood. It was a big topic in that debate. Yeah.
And this is the problem with knee-jerk politics that we have now. They're not addressing a real issue. They're addressing something that was manufactured.
Right. And how they're addressing it is this is tied to a funding bill, which if the bill does not go through, the government is at a potential shutdown. So it's tied to a funding bill. Thursday, stopgap legislation that would keep the government operating until December 11th. So it's essentially keep the lights on for another couple of months. And it passed through the House, but failed in the Senate because of the anti-abortion legislation that was tied to it. So because of that, we could have a potential shutdown. Just like we had that bill.
Every single sitting representative needs to be removed from office.
Well,
All
there was
of
a
them.
bill. There was a bill that was floating around that if that people were trying to get passed, that if the government shuts down, the Congress will have to forfeit their pay until the government's back up and running. So
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think that's fair, but of course, it's kind of like people paying for their own pay, like Congress votes for their own pay raises. You know,
Yeah.
of course they're gonna give themselves a pay raise. Of course they're not gonna put a bill that's gonna make it to where they can't have get their pay, because the House Republicans and the Senate Republicans are pushing for the shutdown. They pushed for it last time. Ted Cruz was pushing for it really hard. Yeah, so it's.
And there we are. With 10 minutes to go, we've mentioned both of them, so we're going to jump into this. Carly Fiorina, the shining star of the CNN debate, who came out, who took some shots at Trump, took some shots back from Trump, maintained her composure, and was really the talking point after these debates were over. Agreed?
For sure, yeah.
So, and then you mentioned Ted Cruz. So let's look at their relationship a little bit. Ted Cruz won his seat in Congress by doing some backhanded tactics, I guess, where he would kind of prop up his opposition to, I guess, make some very good talking points to get a lot of support. And then he would find a way to take down the opposition so that they would fall out, and then their supporters fell to him, giving him the advantage, and then he won. So this is how he gets into the Senate. And how he does this is by financing them. So that whenever he withdraws their funds, they can't do anything anymore, lose all the support, he gets in. Ted Cruz and Carly Fiorina have said nearly identical things throughout both of their candidacies, or whatever it is, whatever the word is. Guess who Carly Fiorina's biggest donor is?
I have a feeling you're going to tell me, Scott.
$500,000 from Ted Cruz's own super PAC.
Wow.
Not only is that the biggest donor, for the longest time it was the only donor she had. So there was a very, very interesting article that was talking about the similarities between them two, and how what it looks to be is that Cruz is giving Fiorina the spotlight, because she is now the shining star. She's getting all this support, all this momentum. She's gaining these voters who are liking what she says and likes the woman aspect of it. So she's getting the women's vote and liking the policies that she's saying, which is actually kind of being spoon-fed to her by Cruz, so that whenever she drops out, because he's going to tell her when it's time to drop out, it's like, all right, you've gotten enough. They're going to come to me now. No more money for you. Be gone. Be out of my way. And then now Cruz is going to suddenly get this surge in popularity, which we can't have, because Cruz is one of the most batshit crazy representatives that are out there right now. Like, the way that this guy talks about how God has divinely inspired his, whatever you want to go into it, he's as bad as Huckabee when it comes to looking for a theocracy rather than a democracy. So, really interesting to see how this is going to play out. The kind of manipulation that's going on behind the scenes.
It kind of sounds. I don't know if you watched any House of Cards, Scott, but it's a
Oh,
great
I've
show.
watched all of them multiple times.
I don't know if you remember. I think it was in the latest season where he was running for re-election, and he propped up that other other lady. He propped her up for the purpose of basically catapulting her in the polls and then taking her constituents. Okay, so. It's a similar thing. Maybe Ted Cruz is watching too much House of Cards and thinks that he's just as smart as.
Or maybe House of
President
Cards is
Underwood.
based on Ted Cruz.
I hope not, because I actually like Frank Underwood. He's a sleazy asshole, but he's still fun to watch. Ted Cruz is, again, he looks like a Simpsons character.
Yes, he does.
He looks like a Simpsons character, and he even sounds like was it Ned Flanders is like the crazy Christian guy on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, he sounds like Ned Flanders with all his Bible talk. And in that crazy video where he appears out of a cornfield, he's like, if you build it, it will come. Have you seen that, man? Oh,
no,
my
I have
God.
not.
I'm gonna look that up real quick, just so we can end on a funny note here.
We're
you
both
might
typing
be fine
furiously
about
to pull this up.
Yeah. Just
Yeah,
Ted
I got it.
Cruz, Field of Dreams. Let's go ahead and throw that up on the the Pumice League political jumbotron. That's what we're gonna call it.
All right, Jimmy, mute your microphone for just a minute.
Okay.
Oh, might help if I did a screen share.
Shoeless Joe has a message for the grassroots. If you build it, they will come.
I read that Princess Bride is one of your favorite movies.
Do what?
Where does Field of Dreams rank?
Oh, Field of Dreams is terrific. The principle, if you build it, they will come. You know, and any minute now, I'm expecting to see Shoeless Joe walk out from those cornfields. That happens, right? You know, I, for one, at least believe it.
All right. Well, I don't even know what to say to that. That's so fucking ridiculous.
Okay, my mic is hot again, but yeah, man, did that just blow your mind just a little bit more? Oh, holy cow, man. Ted Cruz, first of all, I don't know what the fuck that weird space music is behind him. I expect him to, like, call everyone to, like, murder themselves in their sleep because a comet is coming in to
Drink
destroy
the
the planet.
Kool-Aid.
Yeah, it's like some sort of Branch Davidian weirdness about it. It's just really bizarre. Do we see another Waco, Texas happening because of this guy?
Good Lord.
Yeah, and so you're watching it, and immediately because of the space music, you just feel uncomfortable from the get-go. And then, who pops out of the cornfield? Fucking weird Simpsons character, Ted Cruz. It's the most bizarre thing I've ever fucking seen in my life.
ABC News was here, and we found this guy.
Yeah, like it was some sort of organic, like Ted Cruz is just there looking for Shoeless Joe, and they're like, "Hey, man, you find him yet?" Yeah. ABC News is here to report.
That's
Bizarre.
how did these people get this far in the elections? Like that doesn't.
Right.
Oh, anyways. So I guess last topic because we have about 3 minutes left before we're going to jump off here. Pope Francis has gone to Cuba. He spent last week in Cuba. He's in D.C. today. And
That's
conservatives are kind of losing their shit over this. They're throwing a fit over his stance on policies. One even went so far as to say that the Pope should be worried about saving souls and not politics. Even though whenever he's on their side in politics, it's the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I believe that was Napolitano. I think is his name, Napolitano, who's actually is a libertarian. Some things he says, Napolitano, he's a constitutional scholar. I believe he was on some sort of like a court justice. I don't think he was on the high court, the Supreme Court, but he was a justice. Anyways, so he has a pretty good background, and occasions he's nonpartisan, but he is on Fox News a lot because of his libertarian views. So yeah, I think he's the one that said about he should be saving souls, not. Anyways, the other thing is one person said, one of the circuits, again, Rush Limbaugh exploded, another guy said, was talking about how the same that brought us Obama have now brought us Pope Francis.
Oh, I heard that too. I about died laughing when I heard it.
No. Okay. Obviously, you're not a Catholic.
Obviously, we don't have a full understanding of how each election process works.
Right. The president is elected by an electoral body of the Electoral College, the popular vote. Okay, we're a representative democracy, blah, 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 blah. Government 101, crazy person. Then you have the Catholic Church and how they get a pope. Okay, you have a group of cardinals, high cardinals and stuff in the church that get together and they determine who's going to be the pope, blah, 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 blah. They pray a lot, they do a lot of stuff, and then when they finally have reached a consensus amongst themselves, they light the fire and the white smoke comes up. That does not sound like the way we elected President Obama. There was no white smoke. There was no cardinals involved. None of that junk. Okay, so you're just talking crazy stuff.
Which
Just because
is really
has-
to be expected out of Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. Oh, I don't think it was Rush Limbaugh. I think it was some other conservative radio pundit. But Rush Limbaugh was talking about how he's a communist and all this stuff, and they have the same thing to say. Just how President Obama is the most radical president, leftist president. He's the most radical pope. Okay. Compared to the guy that wore red shoes and was blessing Ferraris and letting kids get raped, I would take a little bit of a progressive stance. That's all it is. It's politics. The only reason why Pope Francis is saying some of this stuff is because the Catholic Church is losing people. It's hemorrhaging its members, just like the Mormons are hemorrhaging members. So what do? You start the hashtag Pope is dope and start talking about things people involved in.
Pope is dope? Is that a real hashtag?
Yeah. Hashtag Pope is dope. It is a real thing. Yeah, and then it's like hashtag Pope is dope. Pope talking about
What about
you know,
hashtag Pope on dope?
that'd be
Start making
sweet.
like memes and shit.
if it isn't one, we need to make that hashtag Pope on dope, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, so it's like Pope's talking about income inequality. He's like Occupy Wall Street, word, So they're trying to make this hipster Pope out of this guy who's really not that progressive. He's just saying a lot of this stuff again because the Catholic Church is having some problems.
Indeed.
Right, the Catholic Church is being left in the archaic era from which they came. Yeah, they have the Pope. We still have sex scandals going on. What has this Pope done? Has he done anything about it? No, he hasn't. He's just like every other Pope. He just has to say a little bit more progressive stuff to make him sound cool. I don't know how many other ways I can say that, Scott.
I think you've hit the nail on the head, but we
Yeah.
are out of time. Another successful edition. And by successful, I mean we made it an hour and we didn't fall asleep. Yeah,
Woohoo!
politics.
Yeah. They say that the average person follows politics thinks about politics like 2 seconds out of their day or something like that. Some crazy statistic like that, which is true. I mean, be honest, I follow politics, I like politics, but it's not the only thing on my brain. I mean, the last thing I want to do while I'm, making out with my wife is thinking about Ted Cruz or Carly Fiorina. So,
Ugh.
yeah.
Ugh.
Now you put that in your head.
Why would you say something like that? Anyways, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for checking us out. We are Pompously Political. And if you want some more pompous politics, be sure to check us out at www.polypompous.com. We're also on the Twitterverse at Polypompous and on Facebook at, you guessed it, Polypompous.
Word. Actually, the Facebook is Pompously Political. It's the only one that's actually our name.
Really?
Yeah. All the other ones are at Polypompous, polypompous.com, but then our Facebook is Pompously Political.
Well, I feel stupid. Yeah.
Word. They know I felt every single day that I was doing that shit. But we're peddlers. We're peddlers, ladies and gentlemen. We're peddlers of politics. That should be our headline. I just thought of that on the spot. Peddlers of politics. That's badass. Oh, man. But yeah, man. We got a lot of shit coming down the pipe.
Peddlers of, oh, that's a tongue twister. Get your Peddlers of Politics T-shirt and coffee mugs at our swag store.
Yeah. Which we totally should make those.
I'm on board.
Word. If you are on board, ladies and gentlemen. Also, this shit is live every Tuesday. All right. Feel free to drop a line. Facebook, Twitter, all that good shit. We say this every week. Oh yeah. Okay. Actually do it. And you know what? You'll be on the air. You'll be quasi-famous to the 4 people that watch this thing. They will know who you are, and they will know your views, and your views will get heard. That's my input on that.
All right. Well, thanks for listening in. Take care. Keep thinking.
Have yourself a merry little week.